So the next thing I want to talk about is to kind of like look at AI in a very different light from how you might interact with a human. It's a very different beast altogether. It has its own problems, its own genius spots. It's smart in its own ways, dumb in its own ways, just like every human being, right? And so this is a very different tool. One thing I like to you do, One thing I like to get AI to do with me is to kind of like brainstorm with me, and this is something that usually you won't be able to do with another human being, right? Unless you're talking to an expert. So well, you do get to do this with a human being, but it's more rare, I guess. A lot of times, if you are the expert, you don't get to kind of brainstorm with another expert of your caliber, right? But with AI, it is that expert, and in fact, it's probably smarter than you in the domain. The only question is like, how do you get it to, you know, show its intelligence? One of the tips which is really really useful is to get AI to interrogate or interview you in order to pull out information, in order to pull out nuances of what you are trying to articulate and say. I think especially for those of us who are not very used to, who are not very used to like kind of managing a large team and having to prepare context for a large team that's well understood by everyone. For those of us who don't regularly do that, the biggest hurdle is actually communication. How do you communicate what exactly is in your mind? How do you lay out everything exhaustively, so that you do not miss any of the nuances? That is actually the hard part. And so, a simple way to do this is to tell AI what you're trying to do. This is my problem, and then ask it to ask you questions. And it will be phenomenal at this. It asks you a lot of questions. Some of them you'll be like, oh, I thought this was basic, but I didn't realize it's actually important. I didn't, ask you questions that you didn't think about. And as a result of that, you'll be able to build this very rich context for, not just AI, but for any human being to consume and understand your problem, what you currently do today. I think the biggest gap in most enterprises, most companies today is that knowledge and the expertise essentially resides in the brains of the human, right? And you might have some document written down, but it's not as in depth, it's not as rich as a kind of knowledge in someone's head. And AI is actually really good at extracting that out, to put it into a document so that you can actually reuse the expertise across, not just the organization but across different domains. And so you should really take advantage of that and get AI to really work with you, interview you, and pull out all of that nuance from you. A bit of heads up, it might be a bit of an exhausting process. When I sort of like design architecture for some of the things I'm building with code, I actually go through an interview process with AI that could last hours. And I'm not kidding you, it can go on for hours. But the beauty of that is that it really just forces you to think about the problem from all the different angles, to really discuss in depth all the different kind of nuances to the solutions as well as the problems that you're facing, and really work out your thoughts very cleanly and very sharply. And that's what you really want at the end of the day. This is a hidden superpower of AI. Everyone should get on board, and everyone should get familiar with this technique to use AI to 10x yourself.